Paul is now brought out and brought before the chief priests and the council. And we see how Paul addresses them and what he's going to bring out. And we as the church learn from Paul how to speak, how to address others. And it does vary. As we begin Acts 23, we look at this word, brethren. I've lived before God in all good conscience up to this day. He appeals to his listeners, even though they are there to hear accusation, as brethren. How can he do that? Well, because they share the common heritage. And we can appeal to right heritage. As he says that, and Ananias commands a striking of Paul. He is the high priest. By the way, not even the people who had put him in place like this guy. And Paul turns as he's struck, and we don't know why he didn't recognize the high priest. Paul says, God shall strike you, you whitewashed wall. That's a prophetic word. Within approximately 5 years, his own people who couldn't stand him had him killed. He was struck. If you've been listening to Greg Venables, you will know that he's doing a series called Taking God Seriously. This is a serious moment. And Paul is now called upon to give an account. And he looks round and he notices, we have at least two groups here. They're unified and they totally don't agree with each other. It's a false unity. And Paul says, brethren, I'm a Pharisee, a son of a Pharisee, and with respect to the hope and resurrection of the dead, I'm on trial. Paul's saying, hey, I believe that there's something more. He's actually going to say, of course, that in Jesus the resurrection is happening. The Sadducees would never go for such an argument. They thought this life was all there was to it, even though they were religious. The Pharisees, in terms of believing in the resurrection, were very happy with that. And so they question, what if Paul is speaking, guess what? The truth. And so Paul, by speaking the truth of Jesus, brings wonderful division. And he is on trial for the resurrection. That must be what the church is on trial for today. Believing in, preaching, demonstrating the resurrection. Verse 11, the Lord comes and visits Paul. We don't know how, but Paul has this very particular encounter with the Lord. Take courage, for as you've testified about me in Jerusalem, you must bear witness also in Rome. And as we go on through the chapter, we know that Paul's enemies set out to have him killed. Let us have this man killed. In the evil nature of this, it would prevent God's purposes. It would prevent Acts 1:8 being fulfilled and Paul being a part of it. Paul gets wind of this and he reports it. And in fact, he's now protected. Well, of course he's protected. He's a Roman citizen. And he is led out in the middle of the night. And he's taken away to face yet another trial, but this time in Caesarea. He's escorted up there. And actually, for about 5 days, he lives very well. God is right on time.